This will be great with all the, I feel like we've recently got a lot of criticism of putting e-collars on small dogs, so people are really gonna love this.
Was the one. She's like,
oh, they deserve training just as much as any other dog. The size doesn't make any difference. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand, is that they see small and they infantilize it. Stevie had a very dangerous car chasing behavior. Yeah, so we used the pet corrector to work on that last time. But again, right now, I'm not like too concerned about her position when we're walking. I'd like her to not be, you know, yanking my arm off. So if she starts to get a little bit out of my bubble, I'll just give her a little bit of a correction there. But I'm not going to be enforcing like a perfect heel position or anything right now. She said, "Geez, lady, can a girl sniff around here?" So to clarify, her last lesson, we didn't even get an opportunity to correct with the pet corrector for the cars because she didn't perform the behavior, but at home you gave her one correction for it, and then we haven't needed any since. So big success with that, ma'am. So essentially what we're doing now with the prong is like we're setting a baseline understanding of what we expect from her. We'll turn right and we'll go here. Very loose still, nothing crazy. You'll notice again that like I'm keeping my leash really short, or really loose, I'm sorry. And so that way she's only feeling tension on it when I want her to.
okay.
And then if she was willing to take food right now, then I could be rewarding her when she's like keeping her cool with all these kids around. If she were to lose her cool, we could use the pet corrector to set a boundary with that. So basically we're just kind of exposing her to stuff at her young age to get her accustomed to it and giving her good feedback on how we'd like her to behave around it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Again, I'm keeping an eye on if she puts her mouth on anything on the ground that she shouldn't.
That's like when I walk her at home. I wasn't sure if like when she's pulling me, like if I should pull her in tight and just keep her right next to me.
Sure.
Or if I should let her.
And like with the harness, that's kind of why this week, these last couple weeks, I was having you do the harness for your normal walks because like, let's see what she does with this bird, sorry. No. She said, "Whoa." And so that behavior of like taking off after the bird right there, that's what I marked no for and gave her a correction.
Okay.
Because that's the similar lack of impulse control as the cars.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's that, oh my gosh, I see something, I want to go chase it. And so obviously, again, that still stems from the same baseline of that's a very dangerous behavior.
Right.
So we want to be able to stop those things.
She does do the same thing too, like when there's another dog.
Yes.
She's not very vocal, which I like.
No, that's good.
But she does like
try the darting type thing.
Yeah.
Yep. You could now this week, if you'd like to, expand giving your corrections for that as well.
Okay.
So like there, that was like a normal amount of like, oh, maybe I should go see that person. So I just used the leash to correct her for that.
Okay.
If it turns into kind of what you're describing, where it's more like the car, you know, where it's the full-on body lunging, bouncing up off the ground, that's when you could do a no and a correction with this.
Okay.
And we just walked by like 6, 7 more birds, nothing. All right, now we're gonna stop here We'll just kind of let her observe the kids for a while, see what she thinks. Good girl. See if she's willing to take any treats now. Oh, oh, good girl. And so even if, so like, I know you said normally she's very food driven, but once we start kind of immersing her in these more distracting situations, it's not uncommon that she might be a little bit more unwilling to take food.
Okay.
So something you can do that I recommend is like, if you know you're gonna go on like an excursion like this, where it's something new she maybe hasn't quite seen before, take a treat that she's like obsessed with.
Okay.
Like chicken or hot dogs, you know what I mean? Like cut up hot dogs or cubed cheese or something like that. So that way the motivation to eat it is like very high. So we actually have a really valuable reward that we can give her. So in contrast, like obviously we have the pet corrector to set those boundaries of behaviors we don't like. But then when she's sitting here nice and politely and just hanging out and observing the kids, we can give her positive rewards.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that we're able to kind of balance that out a little bit as well.
That makes sense.
Good job. I know, you're doing so good. Okay, don't get crazy with it. All right, so I'm gonna hand her off to you now.
Okay.
There's that. And I'll keep this just in case we need it, but I want you to get kind of accustomed to using the prong just for those little corrections as we're walking. So we'll walk back down this way. And again, you'll keep your leash relatively loose. And just if she starts to wander off or get out of position, you'll give her those little tugs to just kind of set that boundary with her. Yeah, we're not looking for perfection right now. Oh, there's the birds again. Look at that.
Wow,
good girl. Here, Stevie. You want a snack? Here. Over.
Come on.
There you go. Here. Oh, good job. That was some good self-control, my dear. Perfect. And you can even do like a little sharper next time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like if you're gonna give the leash correction, you wanna mean it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Otherwise, then you end up just nagging her over and over and over again, and it just kind of frustrates them more than anything. Beautiful. And don't worry, we'll teach her to walk like next to you eventually, so she's not zigzagging all over the place.
Okay.
But at her age and her mental development, this is about the most she can muster. So we'll keep fine-tuning it as we go along.
So is it okay to start putting this on her in neighborhood walks?
I would.
Then? Okay.
Yeah. Again, I would say kind of like before you go on your walk, we'll turn and we'll walk back this way again, kind of like mentally assess, do I have the mental energy to do this the whole time? You know what I mean? And make sure that I'm still setting those boundaries. And if not, and you just need like a decompression walk for both of you, put the harness on and don't care.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still care about the things you need to correct the pet corrector with, but don't care about the pulling.
Okay.
The difference is that now if we're going to use the prong, we have to care about the pulling and being able to address that.
Okay.
So there you're a little perfect.
I think my problem is that I'm not sure if I'm doing it at the right time, so that's
You
why I'm
are.
like half-assing it.
Yeah, no, you're doing it.
Like half pulling her.
It's kind of like the moments where you can tell her brain is like, see ya.
Yeah.
Those are the moments where you're like, come back
Okay.
over here.
That's the thing I'm nervous about too. Like I just don't want to like discipline her at the wrong time and then confuse her and
Yes.
then like the whole thing goes off course.
No, and that's a very valid and good fear, honestly, because the way that punishment goes south with dogs is when they don't understand the clear alternative in order to avoid the punishment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the nice thing about what you're doing with the leash right now is that it is a little bit more of like a guidance technique than it is a firm punishment at this point.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be as worried about it like scarring her forever if your timing is a little off.
Okay.
It'll be okay.
All right.
All right, let's go ahead and pause here. And her only goal is that she has to stay with you. We're not going to ask her to do any commands or anything. We're just going to let her organically hang out. And if you want to give her a piece of treat, she'll take it. She watches the dogs, or the kids. The kids run around. Good job. Honestly, children, dogs, very similar.
I'm learning they're very similar.
Very,
I
very
realized
similar.
how close they were until
I know.
I got her.
Oh my gosh, good girl. And those are good moments too. So like if you have her sitting somewhere kind of observing or hanging out, the moment that like something super distracting happens and she holds it together and she doesn't want to chase or go after, those are the exact times to like give the reward.
Okay.
Because you're immediately giving her like instant satisfaction for that self-control that she showed us. Good. So even that, she was like, I'm going to, nope, maybe I'm not going to.
Herself, yeah.
Yep, those are the perfect times. Exposure work like this with puppies is very underrated. So
Yeah.
like if, you know, I'd say two to three times a week, if you can take her to like a local park or something
Okay.
like this. And even if you don't walk around much, you just like post up at a table somewhere and she just like watches everything and you give rewards for her just hanging out and being
Yeah.
calm. That is so valuable.
Okay.
That's like one of the best things you could do at her age, especially because we can already see from a young age, she does have a little bit more of like a kind of like a jumpy, like almost like skittish kind of personality to a
Right.
certain degree. It'll really help build her confidence. I know, the leaf stuck to your butt. There you go. Good job.
It's like, all right, I'll just hang out here.
Very nice. And then now, say hypothetically, one of these kids comes running over and is like, oh my gosh, puppy, can I pet your dog? I'm going to step in front of her and be like, no, thank you. We're not saying hi right now.
Okay.
Because getting her to be like confident socially is not about her interacting. It's about her being able to like be around it and be neutral.
Okay.
The moment a kid comes up and like runs up on her and is all excited and wants to pet her and be crazy is the moment that like she now associates children with high energy activity, which is the complete opposite of what we want.
Right.
This is what we want her to do when she sees kids roughhousing,
Okay.
not care.
Right.
Right? So it becomes our job to make sure that if or when she does actually interact with kids, that it is in a calm manner and that it's very controlled and intentional.
Okay.
And also it can be a safety issue that like, we don't know these kids, we don't know what they've been taught to do or not do with dogs. So for all we know, they're gonna come up and they're gonna try to hug her or put their face in her face.
Right.
And her being her, she's probably not gonna like it. And she may not have a negative reaction at 5 months old, but if that happens enough times, when she's 8, 9 months old, she'll probably snap at him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that creates a little bit more of a negative association with kids, where then she might be scared of them.
Okay.
So you always want to do it very intentionally if you are going to have her interact with children especially, but even adults, even
Yeah.
other dogs, stuff like
That
that.
happens anytime we're in public.
Exactly. So you'll have to get
Puppy.
really good at saying no.
Yes. Okay.
Because obviously she's your dog, you're gonna have to live with her for the next 12 years.
Right.
And I would much rather know that she's gonna be behaving the way that I want her to in public than worry about hurting someone's feelings because I told them that they can't pet her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You'll never see these people again.
Yeah.
Who cares? Care more about your dog, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense. And then would it be bad, like I've had this thought, like when I had her on walks like, with her harness,
Mm-hmm.
when she's like really not doing well, to have this collar on me and switch and put it on instead?
You
Or
could.
do one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, if you have her out on the harness and like she's driving you up a wall because you want it to be a more controlled walk,
Yeah.
and she's obviously not able to do that when you don't have the means to communicate that, then yeah, you could switch over to the prong.
Okay.
Like I said, it just then becomes you are obligated to make sure that she's walking nicely if you
Right.
choose to do the prong. Because I don't want her learning to pull against that neck pressure.
Right.
Pulling against a harness is a very different sensation, and it's safer than if she's just constantly pulling against her neck.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Like even my dog understands that, like, I like to go roller skating with him.
Yeah.
And he knows that when he has the harness on, he can pull like crazy because his association is I'm not expected to heel nicely or walk nicely when the harness is on.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I intentionally do that because then he pulls me on my roller skates and it's fun. But I wouldn't put a harness on him to go take a normal walk because then the context is skewed for him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like if I'm walking her and the garbage truck is going around, like she's very afraid.
She gets nervous.
Yes, very
And
nervous.
so those are moments where if like the garbage truck is going by and it spooks her, right? And maybe she darts away. We're not going to correct with the pet corrector, but I will definitely use my leash to say, we're not going to run just because you're scared of something.
Okay.
And correct her and bring her back over. And then knowing that, then what I would do in the future is if you can time it when like, okay, there's big trucks gonna come down, the garbage can is coming, whatever, we'll go outside with a bunch of those really high value treats. And as it's passing, we're gonna load her up with hot dogs or, you know, something she really likes. And what it then teaches her is that those scary things actually predict her getting something really good.
Okay.
So it creates a whole different association with it.
Okay.
Actually, let's cut across through the parking lot here towards the big truck. And we'll go in the grass next to it. My youngest dog, my Chihuahua, he was a little bit spooked by like big trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what I found with him that started to work really well was if I ever saw one that was just idling like this, because if they're staying still but they're on, it gives you a better chance to work on it because they're not there and then gone. Right. You know what I mean? Like they're a consistent thing. So I would go and I would just stand next to it. And initially he might be a little like, oh no, I gotta get away.
Yeah.
And then that goes away and it dissipates after a while. And again, I use some rewards to encourage him and stuff. But it's a similar thing to the kids where it's like she just needs the exposure of being around it.
Right.
To build the confidence. So we'll go up here in the grass. We'll see if she's willing to take any food. Good girl. She said, absolutely not. We might die. I don't know. We'll just hang out. Perfect. As long as she stays in your bubble, that's all we care about. You sure? And honestly, you know, sometimes her willingness to take food can also be a good gauge on like how uncomfortable is she. You know what I mean? So like if she's not willing to take food that she was willing to take, you know, 5 minutes ago, then that indicates that she is pretty uncomfortable, you know, and she's a little bit concerned. And so maybe we stay here if we can until she's willing to take a treat. Okay. And then that lets me know that she's gotten to a level of comfortability where she's not nearly as spooked as when she started. Good job. Do you want a snack? Do you want a snack? Oh, good job. And when it comes to like the treats and the physical affection and stuff, there's a lot of like rhetoric out there that like if your dog is uncomfortable or scared or nervous, like you shouldn't pet them because you're telling them it's okay to be uncomfortable or scared. But there's a little bit more nuance to it. It's more so that I'm not going to pet her if she's dealing with her uncomfortability in an inappropriate way.
Okay.
So like if she's uncomfortable but she's being very polite and well-mannered, I'll give her all the treats, I'll give her all the affection, all the love.
Okay.
But say she was barking or she's lunging or she's jumping on you because she wants, you know, attention or whatever, then I'm not going to pet or reward in those moments because she's manifesting that uncomfortability in a way that we don't want to encourage. You know what I mean?
Sense. Yeah.
Good. You thought about it on that one. What if we have like a whole handful? Can you turn it down? She said, okay, 1, absolutely not, but 6 of them, definitely. Good girl. Wow, even a boat trailer, Stevie.
I can't believe how like quickly that works.
Yeah, it works extremely well. And now you don't have to put up with it for the next year.
Right.
You know what I mean? As it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And that's where it's so frustrating when people try to scare people away from using techniques like that, because
Right.
it's cruel and inhumane. And inhumane is letting your dog get hit by a car because you didn't do that to teach them not to do it. Like, I would rather her be stressed and scared of a correction in a very controlled, intentional setting than her do something that's going to injure herself.
Definitely.
Like, there's no trade-off to me. And even in the most extreme situations where people are like, oh, but then the dog's gonna be scared of cars. Okay, great.
Not a bad thing.
Great. I would rather my dog be scared of cars than them trying to chase them. So again, in this instance, if she were to just like gradually get up and want to go say hi, just use the leash to bring her back.
Okay.
If she lunges like she would typically in a setting like this, tell her no and we can give her a correction with the pet corrector.
Okay. Nope.
There you go. Guide her back. Very good. That's reasonable.
Okay.
That's a normal amount of puppy interest.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas, like you've seen with her car reactions before, it was like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like full bore crazy.
Yeah.
There you could tell she was like, she didn't black out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do
She's
know.
like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want me to? Okay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas even when you saw me correct her for the bird earlier, her ears went forward. She went into that very like primitive chase
Right.
instinct. And that's what we're correcting is we're like, no. We're not going into like predatory mode here.
Right.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then same with that when the dogs approached. That was a very normal, goofy puppy interest that you said, no, not right now.
Yeah.
And she respected that.
Okay. That's it, because we'll be on walks and with her harness, and she'll be like just
Launching
her back legs
herself.
on the ground, and, like,
Yes. And those are moments where, again, if she's reacting in that way to like a stimulus, even in the harness, you could correct for that with this.
Okay.
If she's just like pulling to pull, it's a little bit harder to correct for that criteria at this point.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's an obedience related thing, whereas the reactivity is just like a nuisance that we need to stop.
Okay. And I'll say like, go get your ball, and sometimes she'll jump. Actually, most times she'll jump down and she'll give it a toy.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's like just normal, or if I should be like,
It can be
can I
normal.
use the pet corrector then, or that's probably not a good idea.
No, so I think that I'm fine with pet correcting for that type of behavior.
Okay.
I would want to look at kind of the overarching like routine maybe that you have with her. Do you find, is that like a daily occurrence?
Yeah.
Okay, and is it like consistently like in the evenings or like specific times a day?
It's usually like evening.
Okay.
And it's after we've gone on a walk, played out back, like
Okay.
we've done a lot of things.
You've done a lot of things and
It's not
she's
like-
like, I don't want to settle, basically.
Right. And sometimes
Okay,
she'll just get like this last wave of like,
the witching hour.
yeah, right before
Yes.
bed.
Yeah.
So it's usually pretty consistent, like time-wise.
Okay,
but-
then I would say a couple things that I would have you try is that when you've done your walks, you've done your playtime, she's eaten, she's done all of the activities that immediately surround her, you could do a little bit of crate time afterwards to like force her to settle for a little bit.
Okay.
That can be useful for like 30, 40 minutes or something. If you then take her out of the crate and you're just trying to hang out and relax and she's being a nuisance, you can use the pet corrector.
Okay.
Another option you have is to do like intentional resting and settling time, like without using the crate. So what I would do in those instances is I would actually put her on a leash and I would put the leash like under a furniture leg or something and just anchor her somewhere.
Okay.
Give her a dog bed or something. You could even give her like a chew or something that she likes,
Yeah.
and then just let her hang out there. And you can keep an eye on her because she's in one general spot, but it keeps her away from you. She can't run and jump on you and parkour and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you might end up with a little bit of whining and fussing initially because she's so used to being able to have access to you all the time when she's out. But it can be a really good way to start training her to be independent and how to like self-soothe without using the confines of a kennel.
Okay.
So that way it starts to like mimic how you would like your evenings to go in the future of like, Stevie can go take a bone and lay down somewhere and entertain herself while I can read or watch TV or whatever.
Yeah.
So those are different options that I would say for that.
Okay.
More like fulfilling to me to know that like even after just one session, people find so much value in it.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that.
And it felt like I didn't know anything or how to do it, and just that one session, I'm like, okay, I got a handle on it.
It's amazing how labs will do that to you. They'll make you question your entire existence. These puppies come out of the womb just ready to wreak havoc, and she reminds me a lot of, there was another lab puppy I trained named Charlie, and her mom came for the first lesson, and she was like almost in tears. She's like, this dog is ruining our lives. Like, I don't know what to do with him. And it was a similar thing. After one session, she was like, I went home and I told my husband, I was like, it's gonna be okay. We've got it.
Like around the same age?
Yeah, she's around the same age as Charlie was when he started.
Hearing that just makes me feel better.
Yes,
There's
yeah.
times like, we have our really good days, but then there's bad days.
Yes, yeah. All right, and then when you come in, same as last time, you just want to ignore her and ignore everybody else.
Okay. It's on a 10.
Okay.
Oh, that's a big one.
Come on, guys. Come on, Violet. You can make it. Come on.
Is that the
Yes. Yep, that's Snoop. And then actually this big guy's one of my dogs too. He's my oldest. He came to work with me today. Come here, Pizza. And so all of that was fine. That was just her asking for some space, so nothing wrong with that. Okay, that's fine.
So is your big dog a doodle?
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting because later today I'm taking Hallie's daughter. She rides. So
Oh,
to the
okay.
stables.
Very cool,
Yeah,
very
she's just
cool.
a beginner, but
Yeah, what kind of horse does she ride, do you know?
I don't know. I should know.
Does she ride English or Western or
It's dressage.
dressage? Okay, very cool.
It's the closest place to both our houses. So
Okay.
it's where Hallie rode horses.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh, I loved it.
Same instructor.
That's great.
Yeah.
An expensive hobby, but she's getting better. I'd say this was quite an improvement from even before. Yes, yeah, not as interested in the dogs. And Cash is a good one for getting her accustomed to the bigger dogs, you know, because when you have little tiny dogs like this, you obviously have to take into consideration that the size difference, because you don't want them to even unintentionally get hurt, you know, even though a larger dog, yeah, that's Cash. Because really our hope for her, you know, like we've talked about, is she may never be a social butterfly, you know, where she wants to run around and play with everybody, but she's gotten far more tolerant, you know, and she can communicate a little bit better rather than being so, you know, impulsive and going straight into defense attack mode. Her just adoringly staring at you. But she's not trying to jump on you. Remember when she used to panic and jump up and need to be carried and everything? So that's a big improvement. Cash, come here. Yes. Come on. Who are we missing? Pizza and corn dog? Oh, well. Pizza, corn dog.
I lost the names. Oh, I don't know what it is.
Come on.
For Violet, I can't even keep my dog straight anymore.
Come on, Pizza. They're here a lot because they actually belong to Kayla, the manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're here with her pretty much every day.
This one reminds me of Maggie, doesn't she, Dave? That was our APL dog.
Oh, really?
She was the
Aw.
best.
Yeah, Pizza belongs to her too. So Pizza, Corn Dog, and Watson are all three hers. Yeah, she's a lot more outgoing out here. A lot of times that can happen. Good job ignoring. No. She said, fine. Guess the rules are still the rules.
So this is interesting with the fake grass. I know I had it.
Automatically, like, kind of correlate that to playing. You know what I mean? And the dog's, like, interacting very immensely and stuff. But overall, it really is just them being able to be neutral around each other. So they don't have to be in really high energy play for it to be successful. That's why dog parks a lot of times are as chaotic as they are, is because the dog goes there, they're super pumped and they're excited because their owners probably don't do a lot of exercise outside of it, and they conflate socializing as a form of exercise when they should be very different. And then when they're socializing, they're super high energy, they're roughhousing, they're playing, and there's constantly new dogs showing up and coming into the mix. So it never gets to a point where that excitement dissipates and they can just kind of exist with each other. Because the peak, like the ebbs and flows of like dogs getting excited and playing, and then they take a break and they relax and they like regulate themselves. That's really good for their emotional like stability essentially. And at a dog park, you don't really get the chance to do that because again, it's very like revolving door. They're constantly coming in and out. And so then you leave, you take your dog away from the dog park when they're at a very high point of energy. And then that's the first thing they remember the next time you go back is, oh yeah, this is the place where we lose our minds and we go crazy and we roughhouse. And so it creates a really unhealthy association with socializing, where next time she comes back here to socialize, she's going to be like, oh, this is no big deal. We all just hang out, very low pressure, nothing crazy.
Now here's the Snoopy I remember. He was the first one that Violet actually relaxed around.
I know, right? She's like, okay, you're not as bad as I remember. Paige, this will be great with all the, I feel like we've recently got a lot of criticism of putting e-collars on small dogs, so people are really gonna love this. Which,
Allie was the one. She's like,
oh, they deserve training just as much as any other dog.
I think
The
she's a
size
lot
doesn't make any
happier,
difference. Oh,
too.
100%.
yeah.
That's what people don't understand is that they see small and they infantilize it.
So you said you went through several trainers before you were able to help out Cash?
Yes, he was quite the menace when he was young. He had a very dominant personality, and I don't use that word lightly, but he was very, very dominant, and he was developing some pretty scary habits where if he didn't want to do something, if you tried to physically like grab a collar and move him or stuff like that, he would bite you.
Sounds like Hagrid.
Yeah, yeah. And so
These other.
I went through a couple different trainers. One was, and it's funny because I went through kind of the whole gamut. I had one trainer that was very like force-free, positive only, lots of treats, and that didn't do anything for him because he didn't care. You know, he's like, I do what I want to do. You're not going to convince me to do it with treats. And when the treats didn't work, she didn't have any other alternative means to help with it. And then with the second trainer, she was a little bit more what people I think stereotypically think of when they see using like prong collars or e-collars, is she was a little bit over the top harsh.
Okay.
And for a dog like him, that really almost just created more conflict because she was coming in very like ego first of like, you're gonna submit and listen to me. And he was not having it. So it created a little bit more conflict there in the relationship. And then finally I found a trainer that was a little bit more middle of the road, you know, and was able to help me learn how to set good boundaries and expectations with him and stuff, but in a way that wasn't confrontational and that type of thing. So, because horses and dogs are different. I would say that some of the techniques, like overall, can be similar, but I found that knowing how to apply them was a little bit more difficult because horses are prey, so they function from like a prey mindset, and that motivates how they behave, and dogs are predators. So the perspectives on why they do what they do can be very different.
It's like,
Good
wait a
thing the
minute,
big dog didn't react the same way. You'd be in trouble.
You're right.
you're not Minnie.
And
We're Minnie.
another good point of why we do these socials very controlled is that as she builds her confidence, we put her with very specific dogs who aren't going to react negatively. You know what I mean? Because if she gives a dog a growl or a snap, or even if she reacts in a way that's more inappropriate.
Tom doesn't respond to that well. She comes back.
Well, and that's where, you know, when it comes to those types of personalities, we just have to be a little bit more on top of making sure we manage that, because in a situation like that, if she gives a growl, and again, it has to be appropriate communication. Like if she were to like jump up and lunge and go crazy, that's different. But that type of a correction to ask for space is totally fine. And if the other dog reacts negatively to that, then the other dog needs to be corrected. So like if Minnie would then react negatively to the correction, then she needs to get corrected at that point.
She's gotten better. She used to run away when their favorite thing is to go for a WALK.
Sure.
So Daisy would come to the front door, and then she would play this game of, running away and not letting you hook her up.
Sure.
Now I tell her, come, and she comes and she sits and lets me hook her up.
Great.
So
That's
a big
great. That's a huge
improvement.
improvement.
And I had to chase her around for weeks.
No, that's awesome. That's so important for little dogs to be able to have the ability to make those choices for themselves, because they're so small a lot of times that we just physically manhandle them, you know what I mean, and kind of take away their ability to like have autonomy over their body. Instead of teaching them, we're like, it's just easier to pick you up, you know what I mean, to put stuff on.
It's such an odd thing because it's one of her favorite things to do.
Yes, yeah.
But it's
like,
like I'm going to give you
The
a hard
keep
time
away.
going.
Yeah.
No, going on a walk is her favorite thing.
No, I know, but then she plays the keep away
But she doesn't
weirdly.
really play keep away. She just
Runs away.
sort of. Yeah, she plays keep away.
Yeah.
Just keep moving away.
Yeah, she's catch me if you can. Sometimes I think there can be different motivations for that with little dogs. Like sometimes I think it's just fun for them. You know, it truly is like a fun little game. Other times I think sometimes because they're, again, we resort to picking them up or manhandling them to do things, they create a negative association with coming near us because they don't want to be picked up or they don't want to be physically made to do something. So then we kind of sour any type of recall or come command because they're like, if I come over there, you're going to pick me up and you're going to carry me somewhere or you're going to make me do something and I don't want to do that. And
I
so...
thought about when she was doing that, to just leave her and take Daisy on a walk and come back.
Sure, sure.
But I never had the heart to do that.
You, I mean, look at her. How could you leave that behind? I get it. How's she been?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No issues with anything?
No. So when we did the comb, we went and placed her. We'd walk somewhere and drop. Do I tell her to stay? How do I get her to stay? I can't remember how that works.
So, like with a sit, you mean? Or
Did I say sit?
you said come.
Yeah.
With
when
the
I
come
say
command?
But when we would walk her away and I'd place her somewhere and then I'd come back. I mean, there was something you said not to combine them, right?
Yes, so if we're doing like stationary commands, so whether that's like you put her on the bed or you put her in a sit stay somewhere or something, I don't generally try to make it a habit to recall her out of them.
Right.
If you need to, it's not the end of the world and she should do it. But the reason I don't do it repeatedly is because then it becomes a pattern where she assumes that when I'm in a stationary position, as soon as you walk away, maybe you're gonna call me, so then I'm gonna go. So if there's the ability to go back,
Yeah, what if I'm just practicing?
if you're just practicing come, then just have her in an organic, free state.
And just let her go.
And just let her go.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, and then now the same rules, you just ignore everybody. Ignore her and everybody else. And we can walk through this way.
These dogs are so sweet.
Beck's like, oh, okay. This is Beck and then Billy.
Beck and Billy.
Yep.
The rescue that I got Sophie from.
Tongue just hanging out. Oh, Billy. Bless her heart. But yeah, those corrections, fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
She's like, is this what I get for chasing the little dog out of the yard?
Yeah. I'm sure she doesn't remember that at all.
No, they really don't. If the owner's around, since you're kind of their comfort zone, they tend to like cling a little bit more if you're not around. Right, he was black and gray.
He's black and gray, yeah.
I guess I was
Black
looking
gray.
at him
He's got some
thinking the
red
red
on him,
healer.
too, actually.
Beck's like, you didn't mean it.
It's not your fault. She's being mean. He's pretty good.
But that actually, you saw how she moved?
Yeah.
That's a really good improvement because instead of her thinking that she's stuck and frozen in space and needs everybody to leave her alone, she's figuring out, oh, I can just get up and move. Like if I'm uncomfortable, I don't have to lash out. I can just create my own space.
Charlie it is.
Honestly, as many girls that are named Charlie now, it almost sounds like I immediately
Sounds like a
assume it's a
girl's name.
girl if I hear the name Charlie.
Billy too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sammy.
Oh,
Oh, look at this. We're going to play.
wow. Oh, the bee ruined it. Oh, 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 oh.
Ears are coming up. He's so cute.
He's like, "Ah, I'm pulling out all my best moves. She's not falling for it. That was as close as I think she's ever gotten, though, to playing with a dog here.
I wish you could see her play with Riley.
Oh, I know.
She's got a little pack. That's all she cares about.
And I think we talked about it before, honestly, that like to me, it's more natural that dogs have like a smaller amount of dogs that they know very well,
Yeah.
that they play mostly with. Obviously, when they meet strange dogs, we want her to at the very least be tolerant and communicate well and,
Right.
you know, and not be fearful. But it's not unusual to me for them to not want to play right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because dogs are pack animals, so they like the sociability, but if you think about how dogs and canines work in the wild, they have their pack that they like, but if they come in and encounter another pack, they don't like each other immediately.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's very territorial, they're a little bit more defensive, and so it makes sense that they develop like their little groups that they like, but then with strange dogs off the bat, they're kind of a little bit more aloof and have to kind of warm up and get used to them. You see how he came around and he approached her from behind,
Yeah.
very intentionally, because he had multiple options to come right into her face. And because he can tell she's more uncomfortable, he chose to come around and do a more like disarming greeting from behind.
I would think that'd be worse, no?
No, dogs going face to face is very confrontational.
That's what's wrong with little Stella.
So him choosing to come at her from like a behind angle is him going out of his way to be like, I just want to say, hey, I'm not trying to be threatening. And that's where, like, so when they do, like, the butt sniffing and they're sniffing their genitals and stuff, humans a lot of times will want to cut in and be like, oh, that's gross, stop doing that, and we interrupt it. But we're actually creating anxiety in the dogs, because if that's the most, like, disarming, natural, non-confrontational way for them to interact. And if we start punishing them for that, then they start going face to face, because we leave them no other option, and we actually create conflict in dogs when we insert our own uncomfortabilities in it, and we're like, we find it gross, so don't do that, when in reality that's exactly what they should be doing. Are you happy with where she's at with everything?
Yeah. Yep. I sure am. I mean, even my nephew came over this weekend, and he was like, he walked in and he was like, I don't know, she just doesn't jump on people anymore.
Nice.
She just doesn't.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not even a thought in her head
No,
anymore,
and I don't
which is
even
great.
I don't have the collar on or anything. She
Yeah.
just knows now. She's not, and so it's nice. She just, and like,
Mm-hmm.
I had people stop over today, and I told her bed, and she, walked her over and put her in her bed, and
That's great.
And then they came in and they left, and then she got up. So
No, that's awesome.
yeah, she's doing really good. Just the other dog thing, which, as long as I know how to deal with it,
I
feel
think
much
that's-
more comfortable now that I have an e-collar, because if she does get,
You feel more confident that you can control her now, and
I
that's
don't want her, eating another dog.
well, and I think being able to see her in as many social settings as we have, I hope it's gotten you to feel a little bit more comfortable in, like, her intention behind it.
Yeah.
Because again, like, she doesn't have the intention of, like, a truly aggressive dog where she wants to cause harm. All of her aggressive outbursts towards dogs are just rooted in her being uncomfortable, So as we build her confidence, like, this is eons improved from where she started. But as you continue to build her confidence, and I think knowing that her intent is not to harm, and then also having the e-collar where you can give her feedback on if she were to escalate to a more dangerous place, it makes you a little bit more comfortable to put her in social settings to push her a little bit. You know what I mean? Outside of her comfort zone, which is important. Who knows? Maybe her and Stella will become best friends one day.
They'd have a blast. But to be,
Get him, Billy.
there she goes.
Oh, there she's a little interested.
She wants to protect. She's like, oh, maybe I'll play with you.
Oh. She said, I want to, but I'm also not sure. That's what that was.
And he doesn't care.
No.
I love it. He just doesn't care.
And those are the perfect dogs to
Yeah.
put with her.
Yeah.
They don't take anything personally.
Right.
He's like, sure, I'll try again in 5 minutes,
Try to put her in social situations, or just
I think that for
as they come
her,
along?
yeah, I would say, like, do it as they come along.
Okay.
I don't know that
Ever
she's,
gonna be social?
yeah, I don't think she's going to be the dog that she's not social, but that she enjoys, like, new social settings.
Right.
So, like, I have a dog who, like, Cash right there, he's one of my dogs in the green harness. He enjoys being social. So, like, anytime that there's, like, an opportunity for him to be social, like, I let him do it because he likes it. My Shepherd, on the other hand, he is social when I need him to be social. He wouldn't prefer me to go out of my way to do it. And I think that's going to be kind of how she is. She's going to have her group of dogs that she likes, that she wants to hang out with. I think that having her come to daycare maybe every once in a while so we can do stuff like this just to keep her, like, yeah.
Usually I send her to my kids, but we're all going home together, so maybe I'll...
Yeah, but I don't think that there's anything like, I don't think she's the type where she's going to sit at home and be like, oh man, my life would be drastically improved if I just had more dog friends,